I still remember the weight of that binder in my hands. My daughter Maya had slid it across our kitchen table without a word, her dark eyes fixed on a point just past my shoulder. That's how she looked at you when something was important. Never direct eye contact, but you knew she was seeing everything. It was a Tuesday morning in March, 18 years ago, but the memory hits like it happened yesterday. I was 42 then, married 12 years, and convinced I had a handle on my life. I was spectacularly wrong. Maya was 10 years old. Autistic. High-functioning, the doctors said, though I hated that term. She wasn't functioning at anything. She was Maya. She saw patterns where I saw chaos. She heard lies where I heard love. And that morning, she handed me proof that my husband wanted me dead. The binder was purple, Maya's favorite color that year. Inside, I found 47 pages of evidence, meticulously organized with colored tabs. Her handwriting, careful and precise, labeled each section: phone records, schedule anomalies, financial discrepancies, voice analysis, audio evidence. I'd laughed at first. Not meanly, but the way you laugh when your child brings you an elaborate fantasy. Maya, honey, what's all this? She didn't answer right away. She was stimming, her fingers tapping a rhythm against her thigh that I'd learned meant she was processing something stressful. When she finally spoke, her voice was flat, matter of fact. Dad's going to hurt you. The probability based on observable data is 94.7%. My stomach dropped, but I kept my voice light. Baby, where did you get an idea like that? She flipped to the first tab. Phone records. I'd printed these from the spreadsheet I showed you last month. You said it was my obsession, that I was fixating. Her fingers found the rhythm again. I wasn't fixating, I was documenting. The spreadsheet she'd shown me. I remembered now. I'd dismissed it as another one of her special interests. Maya went through phases. Earthquakes, marine biology, the periodic table. I thought phone record analysis was just her latest fixation. I'd been so wrong. I looked at the page she'd turned to, a color-coded calendar spanning 6 months, every day marked with symbols, green dots for when James said he'd be at the office, blue dots for when his phone pinged off cell towers near his office, red dots for discrepancies. There were 43 red dots. Tuesdays and Thursdays, she said, still not looking at me. He says Microsoft Campus. His phone shows Fremont, 15.2 miles difference, consistent pattern for 126 days. I stared at the spreadsheet, at my daughter's meticulous handwriting, at the data I couldn't argue with. The next tab was labeled olfactory evidence. Maya had sensory sensitivities. Smells that I barely noticed, she experienced like physical touches. She'd documented every time James came home smelling different. October 14th, coconut shampoo, not his brand. November 2nd, vanilla perfume, strong enough to smell from 3 feet away. December 9th, same vanilla. December 16th, same vanilla. She'd written the word Nicole in careful letters next to each vanilla entry. How do you know her name? My voice sounded strange. She showed me another tab. Photographic evidence. Pictures she'd taken with her tablet, dozens of them. James's car in parking lots. A woman getting into the passenger seat. License plates. Receipts she'd photographed in James's car when he'd asked her to get his sunglasses. Receipts from restaurants we'd never been to. Hotels in Tacoma. A jewelry store in Bellevue. The receipt from the jewelry store was dated January 5th. Our anniversary wasn't until June. I found my voice. Maya, taking pictures of Dad without permission. The data suggests high-risk behavior, she interrupted. Her voice stayed flat, but her fingers tapped faster. I observed. I documented. I protected. The next tab made my hands shake. Audio evidence. Maya recorded everything. It was a coping mechanism, her therapist had explained. She recorded conversations so she could replay them later, parse the social cues she'd missed in real time. I'd thought it was harmless. She'd labeled 5 audio files with sticky tabs. I pressed play on the first one. James's voice, distorted slightly by the tablet's microphone. He was in his home office. The door cracked open. Maya must have been in the hallway. Everything's arranged for April. I'll be in Portland for the conference. His voice paused. A woman's voice responded, tinny through the speaker. What about Sarah? She'll be at the San Juan Islands retreat, solo trip. She's been wanting to go for months. I suggested it. My blood went cold. He had suggested it 2 weeks ago, over dinner. You've been so stressed, honey. Take a weekend for yourself. The writer's retreat you've been talking about. I'd been so grateful. So touched by his thoughtfulness. James's voice continued on the recording. No witnesses. Remote location. The kayak rental company already has my reservation. Accident investigation will show equipment failure. Current strong enough there, they'll believe it. The woman's voice again. And the insurance? Active for 8 months. 5 million. Enough time that it won't raise flags. I stopped the recording. My hands were shaking so badly the tablet nearly fell. Maya caught it, her movements quick and precise. There are 4 more, she said. Increasing specificity of plan. Would you like me to play them in chronological order? No. My voice came out as a whisper. No, baby, I believe you. I looked at my daughter, 10 years old, sitting at our kitchen table, having just informed me with perfect calm that her father was planning my murder. Her face showed no emotion, but her fingers never stopped their rhythm against her thigh. The only sign she was terrified. When did you start collecting this? I asked. 6 months, 2 weeks, 4 days ago, she said immediately. Dad received a phone call. His vocal pattern changed. Pitch elevated by 42 hertz. Speaking speed increased by 15%. Indicators of emotional arousal inconsistent with claimed work call. So you started investigating. She nodded once. Pattern recognition is my strength. I recognize the pattern of deception. I pulled her close, breathing in her strawberry shampoo. She tolerated the hug stiffly. Physical affection wasn't her preference, but she'd learned to accept it from me. There's more, she said against my shoulder. The next section, financial analysis. I turned to that tab with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Maya had somehow accessed James's credit card statements. I didn't ask how. The charges were highlighted in yellow. Hotels, dinners for 2, a monthly payment to an apartment complex in Fremont. He has another residence, Maya said. The address is in the binder. Page 23. I flipped to page 23. MapQuest directions to a condo building. Photos of the building's entrance. A photo of a woman's mailbox. The name Nicole Chen on the label. Page 24, Maya said. Photos of Nicole. Getting into James's car. Walking into the condo building. One clear shot of her face. She was beautiful. 26, maybe 27. Long, dark hair. Athletic build. She works at his gym, Maya said. Sunset Hills Athletic Club. She teaches spin class on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 6 a.m. Dad joined the gym 4 months before the vocal pattern change. My 10-year-old autistic daughter had built a complete investigative file. Color-coded tabs, cross-reference data, audio evidence, photographic proof, financial analysis. The realization hit me like ice water. Everyone thought her obsession with data collection was just autism, her need to record and document and analyze. But it wasn't obsession, it was survival. She'd seen danger coming before I'd even known to look. Does he know you've been watching? I asked. Negative, she said. I employ masking techniques. Dad thinks my recording is stimming behavior. He doesn't know I review files. She paused. He underestimates neurodivergent pattern recognition. I called my brother Marcus that afternoon. He'd been a detective with Seattle PD for 15 years. He'd never liked James. Too smooth, he always said. Too perfect. Marcus arrived at my office within the hour. I worked as a graphic designer downtown, and James thought I'd be there all day. Instead, Marcus and I spent 6 hours in a conference room going through Maya's binder page by page. This is the most thorough investigation I've seen from anyone, he said quietly, including trained professionals. She's 10, I said. She's brilliant. He looked up from the audio files. Sarah, this is admissible. The recordings, the photos. Maya documented everything legally. She's in her own home, public spaces. And he turned to the last tab. Insurance policy documents. Did you know about this? I shook my head. The policy was dated 8 months ago. $5 million. Beneficiary, James Robert Chen. He'd forged my signature on the application. Marcus pulled up records on his laptop. James had been married before. Wife died 7 years ago. Drowning accident during a vacation in Mexico. My stomach lurched. 7 years ago. 1 year before James and I met. Insurance payout? I asked. $2 million. Marcus's jaw was tight. Investigation found no evidence of foul play, ruled accidental drowning. But now we have pattern of behavior. He pulled up more files. Nicole Chen. She filed a domestic violence report 2 months ago, withdrew it a week later. James had another victim already lined up, another woman he'd isolate, manipulate, eventually kill for insurance money. We need evidence, I said. Concrete proof. Maya's files are incredible, but we need him to incriminate himself directly. Marcus nodded slowly. You thinking what I think you're thinking? I'm going to that retreat, and I'm going to let him try. My brother's face went pale. Sarah, that's insane. With you there. With cameras. With Coast Guard ready. I met his eyes. He thinks I'm clueless. Let him think it. We spent the next 3 weeks planning. Marcus brought in Detective Angela Reeves from Major Crimes. They loved Maya's binder. Called it the most comprehensive, preemptive investigation they'd ever seen. They set up waterproof cameras around the kayak rental area, got warrants ready, coordinated with Coast Guard. I wore a wire thinner than dental floss, sewn into my life jacket by a police tech. Maya created a backup protocol. She'd taught herself basic coding and set up an automated system. If I didn't check in via text every 2 hours, her tablet would automatically send her entire evidence file to Marcus, Detective Reeves, and 3 major news outlets. My 10-year-old daughter had built a dead man's switch. The morning I left, Maya hugged me at the door. A real hug, arms tight around my waist, her version of begging me not to go. Come back, she whispered. Always, baby, always. James had been solicitous all week, attentive, loving. He'd helped me pack, suggested I take the early ferry. The water's calmer in the morning. Honey, the drive to the ferry terminal. He held my hand. Told jokes. Talked about the vacation we'd take when I got back. Hawaii, maybe. Just the 2 of us. The vacation we'd never take because I'd be dead. You seem tense, he said, glancing over. Just nervous about kayaking alone. I forced a laugh. You know I'm not the most athletic. You'll be fine. He squeezed my fingers. The rental company said the route's beginner-friendly. Stay close to shore. His voice was so gentle, so reassuring. I'd loved that voice for 12 years. The San Juan Islands retreat was legitimate. A writer's workshop I genuinely wanted to attend. James had suggested I arrive a day early. Relax. Kayak the coastline. Clear your head. What he'd actually arranged, a solo kayak trip along a remote stretch of coastline. Strong currents, deep water. The rental kayak's hull plug would be loose. Water would fill the hull slowly. By the time I noticed, I'd be too far from shore. Accidental drowning. Just like his first wife. I checked into the retreat center Friday afternoon. The workshop didn't start until Saturday, so I had the evening free. I texted Maya our code phrase, sunset, looking beautiful. Her response came in 30 seconds. Data confirmed. Saturday morning, I put on the life jacket with the hidden wire. Marcus and Detective Reeves were positioned a 1/4 mile down the coast in an unmarked boat. Coast Guard was on standby. The kayak rental operator was a kid, maybe 19. He handed me the paddle and ran through basic safety instructions with the enthusiasm of someone who'd given the same speech 1,000 times. This one's all set for you, he said, patting the kayak James had reserved. Your husband called yesterday to confirm, said to make sure you got the blue one, sentimental value or something. The blue kayak, the one with the sabotaged hull plug. I smiled. That's sweet of him. The water was cold. Even in April, the Salish Sea hadn't warmed up. I paddled out, following the route the kid had marked on my map. Stay along the coast, he'd said. Don't go past the marker buoys. I went past the marker buoys. 20 minutes in, I felt the kayak getting sluggish. Water sloshing in the hull. The plug was working exactly as James had planned. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was real. He was really trying to kill me. I kept paddling, fighting panic. The wire was recording everything, my location, the failing kayak, the water slowly filling the hull. My phone rang. James. Hey, honey, how's the kayaking? I forced my voice to stay calm. Good. Water's beautiful. Where are you? Just curious. Past the marker buoys. The coast is so pretty out here. A pause. You shouldn't be that far out, Sarah. Current's strong there. I'll head back soon. I tried to sound carefree, just enjoying the peace. Another pause. The kayak handling okay? Feels a little heavy. My voice shook. Not acting now. James, I think something's wrong. What do you mean? The kayak. It's sinking. There's water inside. His voice shifted. Careful concern. Honey, stay calm. Head back to shore. Now. I'm trying. The water's getting rougher. James, I'm scared. I could hear him moving. The sound of car keys. I'm calling the Coast Guard. Just stay afloat. Stay on the line. But he wasn't calling the Coast Guard. Marcus was listening to the wire. James had hung up and was calling Nicole. The operation is in progress, he said, his voice clear through the recording. She's past the buoys. Kayak's taking on water. Should be over in 30 minutes. Nicole's voice anxious. Are you sure this will work? Same as before. His voice was cold, efficient, accidental drowning. I'll be the grieving husband. 6 months later, we cash the policy and disappear. The Coast Guard cutter appeared around the headland. James's voice on my phone again. Sarah? Sarah, are you there? I'm here. The kayak's almost under. The Coast Guard should be close. Stay calm. I love you. The lie tasted like bile. The Coast Guard pulled me out of the water 3 minutes later. Detective Reeves was with them. She wrapped a thermal blanket around me as I watched them tag the sabotaged kayak as evidence. You okay? She asked. I nodded, touching the wire. Got everything? Everything. They arrested James at the Seattle ferry terminal. He'd driven up like he was coming to rescue me. Marcus was waiting with 6 officers and a warrant. The look on James's face when he saw me alive on the dock, I'll never forget it. Not relief, not joy, just cold fury. Calculation, he'd failed. Nicole Chen was arrested that afternoon at the Fremont condo. When detectives told her about the murder plot, she'd collapsed. She hadn't known. James had told her I was dying of cancer, that the insurance money would help them start over after my natural death. We were both his victims, just in different ways. The trial took 9 months. James's lawyer tried everything, claimed the wire recording was entrapment, that I'd sabotaged the kayak myself, that Maya's evidence was unreliable because she was autistic. That last one made me see red. The prosecutor put Maya on the stand. She was 11 by then. She testified for 40 minutes, explaining her methodology, her data collection, her analysis. The jury was mesmerized. One juror told me later, I've never met a child that perceptive, that brilliant. Your daughter saved your life. Maya's binder became Exhibit A. The recordings became Exhibits B through F. The sabotaged kayak was Exhibit G. Financial records showing the insurance policy, the forged signature, payments to Nicole, the Fremont condo, everything. Evidence so thorough that James's lawyer advised him to take a plea. He refused, insisted on a full trial. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts: attempted first-degree murder, insurance fraud, forgery, bigamy. 30 years in prison. No possibility of parole for 25. They investigated his first wife's death after the conviction, found evidence he'd tampered with her scuba equipment in Mexico. The Mexican authorities reopened the case. He was charged with murder there, too. He'll die in prison. Maya and I moved to Portland after the trial. Far from Seattle, far from memories, far from the house where she'd built her binder at the kitchen table. She's 28 now, works as a data analyst for the FBI, specializes in pattern recognition for fraud investigations. She's brilliant at it, sees things other agents miss. She still lives in Portland, has her own apartment, carefully organized, everything color-coded. She visits me here in Tucson, where I retired 3 years ago. We talk about that, April, about her binder, about the moment I finally believed her. Do people still dismiss your observations? I asked her last Christmas. She nodded. The flat affect people associate with autism makes them think I'm unreliable. But data doesn't lie. No, baby. It doesn't. She smiled. Small, brief, but genuine. You believed me. That's what mattered. I believed her when it counted, but I'd almost dismissed the spreadsheet, almost called the recordings an obsession, almost explained away the binder as autistic fixation. I almost died because I couldn't see what my neurodivergent daughter saw so clearly. The therapist Maya sees now specializes in autism. She told me once that autistic individuals often have superior pattern recognition. They see connections neurotypical people miss. Details that seem irrelevant suddenly form a picture. Maya saw the picture of her father's murder plot before he'd even finalized the details. James was released to a medical facility last year, stage 4 cancer. He has maybe 6 months left. I got a notification as the victim. He's forbidden from contacting either of us. Nicole rebuilt her life in California. She sends Christmas cards. She's married now, 2 kids, a husband who treats her well. Sometimes we talk on the phone. 2 women who loved the same monster, survived him, healed. Sometimes I wonder if James thinks about that kayak, about the daughter he dismissed as too autistic to understand, about the 47-page binder that destroyed his perfect crime. I hope he does. I hope in his final months he realizes he was outsmarted by a 10-year-old he'd underestimated. Because 18 years later, I'm alive. I'm happy. I have a garden full of desert roses here in Tucson. I have coffee every morning on my patio, watching the sunrise paint the Catalina Mountains gold. Maya visits twice a year. We go hiking. We talk about her cases. She tells me about patterns she's seen, criminals she's helped catch. The FBI made her a senior analyst last year. And James has nothing but a hospital bed and the memory of the autistic daughter he thought was obsessed. She wasn't obsessed. She was observant. She saw truth where he saw opportunity. She built evidence where he built lies, and she saved us both. If you're listening to this, and you have a neurodivergent child who's trying to tell you something, listen. Really listen. Don't dismiss their obsessions or fixations. Don't write off their concerns as not understanding social cues. They might be seeing patterns you're missing, dangers you're too close to recognize, truths you've explained away. Maya noticed her father had 2 phones before I did. She documented schedule inconsistencies I'd rationalized as work stress. She recorded conversations I'd never questioned. She saw who he really was while I was still seeing who I wanted him to be. I almost told her she was imagining things. Almost called her binder a project to humor her. Almost dismissed the recordings as her just being Maya. Thank God I looked at the data instead. Thank God I believed my daughter over my husband. Thank God I chose evidence over emotion. It saved my life. It saved hers. It put a murderer in prison before he could kill again. And if you're in danger right now, if something feels wrong, if your child is trying to warn you about something, believe them. Trust their perception, even if it's different from yours. Especially if it's different from yours. Different doesn't mean wrong. Sometimes different means seeing clearly. Maya's autism wasn't a limitation, it was a superpower. Her need to document, to analyze, to find patterns in chaos, it wasn't a disorder, it was a gift. A gift that saw through a sociopath's mask. A gift that built an investigation more thorough than trained detectives. A gift that saved both our lives. You're stronger than you think, smarter than they expect. And your children, neurodivergent or not, see truths adults explain away. Listen to them. Believe them. Trust that voice inside that says something's wrong. It's usually right.